Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Doesn't matter what time of day or night it is, I'm always just as grateful to see people stop by my channel. I am Reverend Paul J. Bern. I'm the online pastor of the online church and faith-based community known as the Social Gospel Worship and Learning Center, based in Atlanta, Georgia, blogging and broadcasting all over the world. This is not a traditional church. If that's what you were expecting, stick around anyway. What you see may stir the Spirit of the Lord within your heart. There is no religion taught here. There is no denominational teaching here. I dispense with all that. What we do teach here is Jesus Christ, crucified, died, and resurrected on the morning of that third day of that magnificent morning. And so today, we arrive at this point. The point we're at today, which is the Sunday message for March the 5th of 2023, in case anyone missed it. The title for this one is Why Technology is Reinventing Church as We Know It. Why technology and the internet is reinventing church as we know it. And I want to start by saying that the celebration of the 400th anniversary of the King James Bible's initial publication was 12 years ago. And Bible publishers are still commemorating that landmark by producing an abundance of gorgeous and ostentatious hand-bound versions complete with illustrations for a premium price, of course. The hoopla is entirely justified, since the King James Bible did revolutionize Bible reading, bringing Scripture into the common vernacular for the first time for the English-speaking world. Although I personally use other versions, which in my case, if you want to know, is either the New International Version, the New Living Translation, and the Amplified Bible. For my studies, I prefer to use 3, because I want to hear as much as I can from as many angles as I can when I study about my Lord and Savior. Hope you're doing the same, but if you're not, don't worry. This is a good place to start. Okay, here we go. It is not too much to say that the King James Bible, mass-produced as it was, democratized religion and faith by taking them out of the hands of the clerical few and giving it to the many. Thanks to a cutting-edge technology from back then, known as the printing press. Today, the printing press has gone digital. We are using technology now to spread the gospel. I am just one of many people who are doing this, and there are more jumping on board every day by the grace of God. Praise Him for His mercy. Hallelujah. Today, another much bigger revolution in church as we have known it is already underway. Today's technology goes a giant step further, making Scripture in any language and any translation accessible to anyone on earth with a decent mobile phone. It need not be a hardwired connection anymore, such as a home computer. Just a basic smartphone is all you need now. Just like the 500-year-old Protestant Reformation, which was aided by the advent of the printing press and which helped give birth to the King James Bible. These were changes wrought by new web-based technology, and they have the ability to expand the reach and the scope of the gospel of Jesus Christ like we never previously have. In the face of church leaders who claimed that only they could interpret the Bible for the common people, Reformation leaders like Martin Luther taught that nothing supersedes the authority of the Word of God itself. And I quote from him. Martin Luther said, "A simple layman armed with Scripture is greater than the mightiest pope without it." And it's just as true today as it was 500 years ago when when Martin Luther wrote that down. The internet has made traditional churches obsolete, or is in the process of doing so. And so in that vein, today's digital technology gives users the text, plain and simple, without the interpretive lens of established authorities. And it lets users share interpretations with other non-authorities, like family members, friends, and co-workers. With the Bible on iPhones, iPads, and tablets of various kinds, and let's not forget Android phones while we're at it, believers can bypass constraining religious structures, otherwise known as denominations in brick-and-mortar churches, in favor of a more individualized connection with God. We can't see God, and we can't hear the internet visually. Yet people who have a hunger and a thirst for God, or at the very least, some power greater than themselves, connect with God in this way. This blog of mine, this online community, this faith-based nonprofit is based on that fact, that there is an emerging new power outlet that we can plug into that is like a direct link to God. Churches are getting on the web in droves because they are discovering the same thing. There is an intensity now, a burning desire to bring ourselves as close as we can get to God, because millions of Christians all over the world are beginning to recognize that we are living in the last days. There is now a growing sense of urgency to get as many souls into God's kingdom as can be, because we are all running out of time. The more ways we can find to do this, the better. I cannot overemphasize the urgency of our situation. Because you see, so many out there are hungry and thirsty for some real truth. This helps solve a problem, therefore, that Christian leaders are increasingly articulating. That even among people who say that Jesus Christ is their personal Lord and Savior, too many people don't read their Bibles. Here in the 21st century, more than a third of those who self-identify as born-again Christians rarely or never read the Bible. Many don't even own one. Among unaffiliated people, that is, among Americans who don't belong to a religious congregation, more than 2/3 say that they don't read the Bible. Especially among 18 to 29-year-olds, the millennials, Bible reading has come to feel like homework, like they're back in school, or are still in school, associated with right and wrong interpretations, allegedly, and accompanied by stern lectures from the pulpit and within the classroom. Today's young Christians, or millennials, if you like, have come to expect experiences that appear unscripted and interactive. which allows them to be open and honest with their questions. To put it simply, they are hungry and thirsty for an authenticity that can be only found by reading the Bible. That's right, you got to sit down and read it. The majority of today's churches lack this certain authenticity. It is nowhere to be found within their walls. If anybody here reading this or watching this does not own a Bible because they can't afford it, please send me your email addresses in the responses below, or contact me directly by email. You can contact me by, let's use webpreacher@yahoo.com. If you'll use that one. Sounds just like, spelled just like it sounds. webpreacher@yahoo.com. Send me your mailing address. I will. So help me God. Give anybody who wants one a Bible for free. There is no charge for it. And especially if you can't afford to pay. I ask for a... Well, no, let me change that. I'm going to come back to that in about 2 more minutes. Hold on, cause I'm going to go somewhere further forward with this right now. The next subtitle in this little talk of mine is Aching for a Fresh Connection. This yearning that I'm talking about, that I have written about, for a more directly connected faith, including Bible readings and verses to inspire or console wherever and whenever they're needed, is being met with an enthusiastic embrace. For growing numbers of young people, pardon me, for growing numbers of young people, start this sentence over, a leather-bound Bible sitting like an artifact in the middle of the coffee table in the family room has no allure. It has no attraction. It's not an invitation for exploration or questioning. Young people want to absorb their spirituality the way they do their news or their music. They don't want to sit and hear a sermon. They want to browse for Jesus on Facebook, tweet about him on Twitter, link up with like-minded believers on LinkedIn, and Google whatever is left. They are also streaming Christian content on their various digital devices directly off the web, bypassing cable TV and printed media completely. Imagine how much money you'd save if you didn't need cable TV anymore. Now there's a goal worth shooting for. You get it all off the web with an internet connection, and that's all you need. There's nothing but crap on TVs anyway, but I digress. You can even visit church under this new arrangement that I'm teaching about today. You can visit church on your phone. We now have products such as YouVersion, for example, spelled just like it sounds. Not a paid endorsement. A digital Bible available for free on iTunes and developed by a 34-year-old technology buff and Christian pastor from Oklahoma named Bobby Grunwald. In an interview on a Christian TV channel recently, He said he conceived of it while on a layover at Chicago International Airport, wishing he had a Bible to read. And what he said about it was, what we're really trying to address here is, how do we increase engagement in the Bible? Close quote. Now available in 113 versions in 41 languages, including even Arabic. YouVersion has a community component that allows the users to share thoughts and insights on Bible verses with friends and connections. It has been installed on more than 20 million smartphones since 2008. So if you got a smartphone, never mind what I said about emailing me your address. You just search YouVersion, YouVersion. Oh, pardon me, that's YouVersion. YouVersion, one more time, YouVersion. And it'll pop right up for you. It's free. Get it now. You need it. Now, what is driving these people to do this? Why are they turning their back on traditional church? I can sum it up in 2 words. Now, these 2 words do not apply to each and every church out there that I don't agree with. But the 2 words are phony pastors. Phony pastors. Traditionalists, for example. How do you spot one of these guys? Or women? Traditionalists worry. They worry technology allows young believers to practice religion without committing to what many churches call a church home. And they're right. But what they are really afraid of is that the nations will falter or even dry up altogether as a result of this development. The very idea of not having a church, the church participants right there with them in the sanctuary, so that these hired hand pastors can pass around a collection basket, or 2, or 3, completely unnerves these types of teachers and leaders. So that's how you can tell if a pastor is in the ministry for the right reasons or not. And if it turns out that they're not, go find a better church. Go find a better church. Don't get up and walk out in the middle of the service or anything, but just don't go back after that. Chalk it up. Chalk it up to experience. Which brings me to my next topic. Christianity's evolution. Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Excuse me. I once, pardon me again. Oh yeah, I once watched a Michigan pastor named Rob Bell on a Christian video that I had streamed off the web. It was the eve of the publication of his then new bestseller titled Love Wins, which is still available on Amazon, or you can order a copy directly from Mr. Bell. I think he's got a website with his name. And that, by the way, was not a paid endorsement either. It was said on that show, that after the book signing, many of Pastor Bell's acolytes said they felt like they knew Rob through his sermons, which they regularly downloaded off the internet, even though they had never met him. They came from places as diverse as Australia, South Africa, and New Jersey. They listen to Bill while they're working out or commuting to and from work. They get their religion and their spirituality like their meals, on the run. Pastor Bell is going about this in the right way, I judge. And traditional churches, with their comparatively high overhead, are being left behind and the dustbin swept up to the dustbins of history. And then there's one final problem that I want to point out about traditional churches. It has to do with the preservation of the Earth's environment. You know, you can be an environmentalist and not be a Christian. Happens all the time. But I maintain that you cannot be a Christian and yet not be an environmentalist. Because, why? Because the Bible says the earth is the Lord's and everything contained within it. That's from the book of Psalms. Book of Psalms. The problem I was about to mention was the large carbon footprint of Bible printing. How many people have heard about this? The family Bible has long been given as a gift on graduation day or on other big occasions and inscribed with special dates such as births, marriages, or deaths. Some of these Bibles would go on to become collector's items that are treasured and protected and preserved. I can see a world in the not-too-distant future when the Bible may exist primarily online, or someone will carry it on one of those little thumb drives with the USB port. They'll have it on a thumb drive. Especially due to the number of trees that we must otherwise cut down to make all the paper on which the Bible is printed. Bibles. And they're printing them by the millions, cutting down more and more trees to get to that pulp. This has got to stop. If you want me to explain why, just look it up on the internet. What will happen if we cut down too many trees? There's a good something to search, but wait until I'm done, please. And I'm just about there now. Thanks for sticking with me. You're going to be glad you watched all this, and you're about to find out why. People are changing. People are changing, and the churches will have to change with them. For right now, worship services and Bible studies are still done almost exclusively as public gatherings in a house of worship, or sometimes in a home church, which is exactly as the name implies. God bless all you home church folks. More power to you. But more and more people are beginning to trend towards web-based churches, such as this one, that offers a more personalized one-on-one experience. As a result, for a rapidly growing minority, the necessity of physically gathering each week in the same place with the same people becomes a traditional form of worship that has begun to fade into the past. Moreover, more and more people are getting by without the expenses of owning and insuring and fixing a motor vehicle. I am one of these people. I no longer own a car. But I live down in the city, so I can catch a bus just about anywhere. Works fine for me. Without a doubt, those two trends, people doing it with their cars and people going to the web instead of going to traditional churches, spells bad news for organized religion in general. More and more people are beginning to trend towards web-based churches, such as this one, that offers a more personalized one-on-one experience. As a result, for a rapidly growing minority, the necessity of physically gathering each week in the same place with the same people becomes a traditional form of worship that has begun to fade into the past. Moreover, more and more people are getting by without the expense of owning a motor vehicle. Without a doubt, these two trends represent new twin crises for organized religion. If church, as we have known it, has difficulty adapting to these new technologies and that can reach audiences that number in the millions, they will cease to exist soon thereafter. And in closing, let me give you a quote from Jesus Christ, from the Gospel of Matthew. Wherever two or more are gathered, Jesus taught us, there I am in their midst. This question, this very poignant question, already has organized religion seeking to redefine what it means to be a body of believers. They better. Besides, with all this new technology, the faithful can now have church in as little or as often as they want. But often is definitely better, even if it's only for 5 minutes each time. 5 minutes at a time over an 8-hour workday? That's a lot of prayers. Think about it. It's a lot of prayers. Just remember to make sure your worship is as authentic as the Lord and Savior whom you worship. Search your hearts for the answer to this question, everybody. God sees all and He knows all. Above all, never stop praying, never stop praising Jesus, because He is coming back sooner than you might expect. Even as it is written, the Son of Man will return at an hour when you do not expect Him. That's another quote from Christ. You can sign up for my the free version of my blog on either WordPress under Paul Bern 77, on Medium, on medium.com/ampersand Greatest Servant 62. That's Greatest Servant, all one word, all lowercase. GreatestServant, number 6, number 2. And that's your address there. To sign up for that one. For Substack, it's Pastor Paul Bern at Substack.com, or just go to the Substack.com and type my name in. Either way will work. I've got considerable archives too, so there's going to be a lot of stuff to read, and you have access to every one of the other writers on those 3 websites. Especially true for Medium and for Substack. So never stop praying, never stop praising Jesus. Bears repeating, because He's coming back sooner than you might expect. You'll be surprised. Careful, everyone. At this point, many of these online churches ask for money. And it is unfortunate that some continue to teach that you must give 10% of your income in order to be a good church member and a good Christian. I don't teach that here. It may be true for a brick and mortar church, but since I have no ability, what do I need the 10% for? To buy a new car, for heaven's sake? No, I'll continue to forego the car and continue to ride the bus if that's what I've got to do to keep this channel online. I want to thank each and every one of you for the privilege of your time. You're all very much appreciated. And one last thing, please don't forget to give me a like, a share, better yet, and a subscribe if you'd be so kind. You are much appreciated. So, I guess that's all for this time around. Can't wait to see you again the next time. And so, everybody be blessed. Yes, be blessed in Jesus' mighty name.